Hello, listeners, and welcome to today's Cult News. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast, and for this segment, I will be bringing you an overview of Week 3 of the Danny Masterson retrial. If you are not familiar with this case, you can check out my overview videos on this channel, or head over to tonyortega.com to find out more. You can also find coverage of the case with other content creators, such as Aaron Levin-Smith, a former Scientologist and whistleblower, who is covering the trial over on his own YouTube channel. At the end of Week 2, Jane Doe 1 had taken the stand to bring her difficult testimony, detailing the abuses she endured at the hands of lifelong Scientologist and actor Danny Masterson. According to the morning report from Paul reporter Tony Ortega, Jane Doe 1 had been intimidated by a Scientology attorney who attended the courtroom as part of the audience on Friday the 28th of April. The prosecution brought this up with Judge Olmedo, who allowed Jane Doe 1 to discuss the details of this on the stand, continuing for the rest of the day with her testimony. There was more information in this retrial regarding Scientology's role in covering up her abuse, when they told Jane Doe 1 that she couldn't go to law enforcement. The defense called for another mistrial after the jury may have heard something in the hallways of the courthouse, but Jane Doe 1 continued to testify regarding her eventual reporting to the LAPD, how Scientology forced her to sign a gag agreement with Masterson, who signed the document himself using a pseudonym. The following day, Jane Doe 1 was being cross-examined by the defense, with attorney Philip Cohen focusing on the implication of drugging. As Masterson is on trial for forcible rape and not for drugging, this could muddy the waters. After testifying that Masterson held a gun to her head and forced her into submission, Jane Doe 1 had her memory and credibility questioned by Cohen, who demanded details of the brandished weapon. The day ended on Cohen being admonished by Judge Olmedo, granting him only a further 45 minutes to cross-examine Jane Doe 1. This only caused Cohen to move for yet another mistrial on the basis that his cross-examination had been limited. But again, the trial proceeded, with Jane Doe 1's younger cousin taking the stand to corroborate parts of Jane Doe 1's testimony. The testimonies provided in both the first trial and this retrial have been really difficult to read and are very graphic and triggering in nature. So if anybody does want to read some parts of the transcripts or any of the information that's coming out of the courthouse, you can go to tonyortega.com on the Underground Bunkers Substack. Claire Headley, former Scientologist turned whistleblower, was then brought to the stand to testify as the prosecution's witness, talking about the policies around Scientology, with Sean Holley cross-examining Headley for the defense, leading to Friday's events where Jane Doe 2 was called to the stand to testify of her abuses sustained by Danny Masterson. There are trigger warnings on this particular testimony describing a horrific 2003 incident, with potentially more harassment from Scientology plants in the courtroom, there to intimidate witnesses. The week in court ended with Jane Doe 2 finishing her direct testimony, with defense beginning cross-examinations, which will continue on Monday. There have been lots of changes from the first trial, with more talk and focus on Scientology's role in the potential cover-up of crimes, allowing each witness time to detail more of their respective experiences. I will bring you more information at the end of next week, but for now, that is the end of today's Cult News. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.